Can you imagine how strange it would be if Earth suddenly lost gravity? People would die, animals would die, plants would die. Cars would fly away, buildings would collapse. The atmosphere would dissipate into outer space and we'd all freeze to death. But what if this happened for only one day? Just one brief 24-hour period where the Earth just temporarily lost gravity. Well, it turns out that even one day without gravity would still be plenty of time for some very strange things to happen. And we're going to tell you all about them right now. You ever wondered what zero gravity feels like? Well, we don't actually know because it's impossible to experience true zero gravity here on Earth. But we do have some pretty good approximations. Like, for example, astronauts on the International Space Station experience roughly 90% of Earth's gravity. So they're not exactly weightless, but they do experience a significantly reduced version of it. And according to them, it feels kind of like being in a pool. And while it might feel fun and refreshing at first, after 24 hours of it, you would probably start to get pretty sick from all the disorientation. That's because your inner ear, which is responsible for your sense of balance, would basically be completely confused. It would send incorrect signals to your brain, because it would no longer have the reference point of gravity to work with. But it wouldn't just be confusing, it would also be deadly. Without gravity, blood would no longer be able to pump throughout your body. That's because your heart relies on gravity to keep blood moving in the right direction. If you were on Earth and you suddenly lost gravity, the blood in your legs would immediately start pooling and you'd probably pass out almost instantly. And even if you were outside, it would only buy you a little bit more time before you blacked out, because without gravity, your entire circulatory system would basically stop working. But what about the stuff that's not attached to your body? One of the most famous experiments conducted by astronauts on the ISS is to simply float around and eat a snack. You can find videos online that seem like a blast until you remember that all that food could actually be deadly. If it hits you in the eye, for example, it could cause permanent damage. But assuming you are careful, you could enjoy a nice meal followed by a game of floating Tetris with all of your living quarters. After all, without gravity, everything would be fair game to use as a projectile. You could knock books off of shelves and send them flying through the air. You could turn a magazine into a deadly frisbee. You could probably kill someone with a pillow. There are so many ways that you could die without gravity. So let's move on to something a little less morbid. Like what would happen to the weather? Surprisingly, a lot. That's because Earth's rotation is partly responsible for our planet's weather patterns. When Earth loses its rotation for even just an hour, researchers predict that there would be massive atmospheric drag at the equator, and winds would blow at speeds of up to 300 miles per hour. And of course, since there's no gravity, those winds would never stop. They would just continue to rage around the planet forever. And speaking of forever, there's really no telling what else would happen if Earth had no gravity for a day. Some people have speculated that shoes would fly away from people's feet and magnets would levitate off of the ground. But the truth is that without gravity, anything could happen. We simply have no frame of reference for what a day without gravity would be like. And that makes it impossible to predict what would happen. But one thing is for certain, it would be unlike any other day that we've ever experienced. Thanks for watching Parallelish. What do you think would happen if we had no gravity? Leave your comments below. I'm Nova, your guide through the unknown. Want to explore more timelines? Tap the playlist above and keep diving into the what-ifs. Until next time, stay curious.